Hello everyone, you've probably recently seen me play this Baroque lute, and it's a 13 course. I've just thought I'd document something to do, an issue that I've noticed with the strings. I'm going to start this video by saying that I'm not an expert. I've always played the lute and I've always been interested in it. And I first played a Renaissance lute when I was about 16. But in more recent years, I acquired this lute. And when we were deciding on the tuning and the rest of it, because in this era, in the Baroque era, lutenists experimented with the tuning. So where you have Renaissance tuning that we're used to, and we're used to the bottom two courses, the highest string, string one, string, what we would call string one, string two, or course one, course two, they would be distanced in fourths, and then you'd have this relationship of the third course would be dropped, unlike guitar tuning, the central two strings on a guitar tuning, they would be in a parallel in a fourth, but in lute tuning they're in a third, so you get this distance between these two, which is a perfect fourth, a third, and then on the last two they'd be back to a fourth again. So the third is in the middle with lute. Now my instrument here is tuned to E, 440 Hertz, and the top E string, which is the one that I'm having some, I would say, mild issues with. And the problem with it for me is that it just doesn't have enough tension. Now, I've been looking up about gut strings and Nylgut strings. Now, most of this lute is tuned, you can see it's got these Nylgut strings. They're a different colour to the pure gut string. And I'll take pictures and probably show this a bit more up close. But the idea is that this gut string here has a different feel to it than the Nylgut. The Nylgut, for me, feels more suitable to my technique. And again, I'm not an expert, but I have a kind of homemade technique when it comes to playing with the lute. And I've been developing Renaissance technique for the Renaissance lute, but with Baroque lute, for me, I'm pretty much on my own with a kind of hybrid with my guitar technique, but I'm quite used to moving my wrist around and changing the angle to find the tone. And herein lies the problem. With this gut string, if you watch my last video that I made with this instrument, you probably can see that I'm struggling very slightly on this E string. I'm having to work extra hard. I'm actually having to work too hard to get the tone. And as many of you know, when you pluck a string too hard, you sometimes, and in the wrong direction, you can get a rebound effect. If you pluck upwards, you get this snapback effect. So, having played the guitar since I was 4 years old, I'm fine with playing plucked instruments, but I'm finding this relationship of the string length and the string gauge, the string thickness, to be an issue, and the string material. So this gut string, I'm not sure I can get on with it very well. So part of the experiment today is to change the string, and I will report back on my observations of the new string type. And I'll take pictures. So I'm changing from a Kürschner string, 0.4 pure gut, the NR5040, and I'm going to be changing to an Aquila Nylgut, the same diameter, 0.4. You have to be very careful with how much tension you put on across the entire instrument, because obviously you can imagine, with this being a 13 course 24 string instrument, the pull on the strings is, you know, quite extraordinary, you know, with the more strings you have. So the string gauges, in other words the thicknesses, and in relation to the string length, is crucial. So I've put the new string on, no issues there. You can now see, should be able to see the difference in colour of the Nylgut string. In terms of the flexibility of the string, it does feel a little bit more, solid. And I don't know whether I'm just being swayed because I think there would be a difference psychologically. It doesn't seem to flap about so much. Maybe that's because the gut string, when they get old, they probably stretch out a bit, and that's why I seem to remember the stories of the old classical guitarists who used to play with gut, used to say that they didn't last very long. So with the gut string, I used to get a lot more flap on, and although I get a little bit of flap on this, I mean, it's to be expected with a thin string, and that's going to be, now it's down to my technique. But the other string, I did feel that I was doing the right thing when I was plucking, and I was getting inconsistent results. This sounds to me to be a little more consistent. One of the things that I was having to do with the gut string, I was having to have my hand a lot closer to the bridge because of the flappiness of the string. And obviously it goes without saying that when you've got this string length going from here to here, the flappiest part of the string will always be the midpoint. So the nearer you are to plucking to the midpoint, you're always going to get more flappiness in a string. And the way to counteract that, obviously, is to play further to the bridge, which means you're playing it in where the string is much tauter. You know, you've got a lot more tension. And if the string is slack in one way, you can't really afford to play it a little bit further inwards, more towards the hole, the sound hole, and get that sweeter sound if the string is just flapping and giving away on you all the time. So that was my goal with this, with changing the string. So I think the experiment so far, swapping out a like-for-like gauge, going from gut to Nylgut, especially with this very, very thin first string, I think, for the moment, success. I may report back and say what I think, you know, how well this string is going to last the course. You know, it being so thin, I really don't know what happens in the long run with these. Maybe as it keeps stretching, obviously the string is going to, you know, you're going to lose. I think you're going to lose some sort of tension with the, you know, as the string, you know, gets to a relaxed pitch, but already losing some pitch, so it's still stretching. So, but so far for the experiment, yeah, I'd say that's a success. Anyway, thank you very much for watching and for putting up with my Baroque lute and me as a guitarist, really, in a way, pretty much out of my depth. I'm no expert, but I have played this for a long time, but I just don't play it enough, and I'm hoping to correct that now. And I may have some more lute news in the near future. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I'll be tuning this forever.